Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the Humble Pursuit podcast. My name is Bill and I'm joined in studio with Thomas and Tyler's mustache. How are you today, gentlemen?
Better than we deserve.
Doing well, yes.
Doing well. And we have a special guest in our new studio. Before I introduce your name, what is the greatest football team of all time?
That would have to be the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That is right. That is Joe Lewis on record with the most right answer that I've ever heard in my life.
Better end this now on 1,000%.
We're at 1,000%. Excellent. Well, Joe, have you listened to our podcast before?
I've listened to a little bit of one of them, but not a whole bunch, I'll be honest.
So he's obviously somebody that's in community with us and supports us all the way. We appreciate that, buddy.
I appreciate you, man.
Okay, well, our podcast, you know, the things that we kind of push are community, brotherhood, manning up, embracing the suck of life,
Right.
fatherhood, and we have some healthy back and forth jousting, if you haven't noticed.
I've noticed.
Right now it's pointed at Tyler's mustache.
It's all right. We can handle it.
So I got outvoted on the mustache, though.
Yeah.
I can't believe it came back up in the episode 24.
Well, you made such a big deal about it in episode 23 that you marked as 22.
All of our listeners from the podcast are going to head to YouTube, so
Head to YouTube and find out. You got to see
let's
this.
go.
It's the most
Move on.
amazing
We got an
thing.
amazing guy here with his
But as
amazing
I talk
mustache.
about brotherhood and as I talk about community and manning up, man, you check those boxes, brother.
Thank you.
We're so glad to have you here. We like to start off with some icebreaker questions, and Thomas
No,
loves these.
we don't like to. You
So
like
I
to.
changed them.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm not going to ask the ones that I usually ask,
Okay.
just for you to see if it's okay with you.
Well, go
now.
ahead. Let's
Okay, well, I'm
find
going
out.
to. Will you let me ask them? Okay.
Andale.
So this is supposed to relax you.
That's
Get you
working
prepared.
so far, yeah.
So are you relaxed? Okay, you're not relaxed yet.
I feel a little at home, yeah.
What's one favorite childhood memory?
Fishing with my father.
Fishing with your father.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Late night. Farm pond that he helped dig back in the day to where about midnight the channel cats start hitting and we'd lay in the back of his truck and listen to some old western music and they'd hit and start hitting and it was it was go time. It was good times.
Nice.
That's a good memory.
Do you guys ever throw traps out or anything like that?
No. We used to seine and put in the ponds back in the 80s and they were all drying up out in western Kansas. We'd
Yeah,
go by
absolutely.
and seine some and put them into good ponds. So we had good fishing ponds all the time that way.
Was that better?
That was better.
That's
As long as we don't
much
do
more
Disney
meaningful.
Princess. What's your favorite Disney? If we can skip that one.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one, Tyler's not going to ask about a Disney princess. Why would you ever ask about that? What's the last book you read?
The last book I've read in is the Bible.
Read in is the Bible. What
Starting with John. Starting the very beginning of what I was told was a good place to start.
Nice. That
because
is a wonderful place to start.
I've fought it for years, and I'm not a reader normally, but especially after the last weekend and listening to Jeff, once again, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the place to start if you're not real knowledgeable about it, and I'm not. So,
Well, when you get done with John, go to the book of James.
okay.
Call me. And lastly, again, better question.
That was good.
Much better.
Okay. What's the last book you read, Tyler?
Jayber Crow by Wendell Berry.
You ever heard
You
of that?
ask.
What about you, Thomas? What's the last book you read?
The Comfort Crisis.
that
Michael
was,
Easter.
That's probably one of the last ones that I read in total. That was a really good one.
Yep.
I keep coming back to that and some of the stuff that we're talking about. And the last icebreaker question to
Yep.
get you nice and calm. What's your morning routine?
Copy and copy and copy, and then hopefully speaking with my wife and taking the dog for a walk, and watching the Weather Channel, seeing if it's going to be all right for outside work.
Super.
More coffee.
More coffee. More coffee throughout the day. Excellent. Okay, so nerves are calm.
Yeah, I'm
You're
good.
ready to begin. Some podcasts are the format is they tell you what you want to talk about and the direction that you're going. We picked a starting point in your life. I don't know about this starting point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any of the stories, and I don't even know how long we've been friends, to be honest with you, Joe.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there.
And so we picked a spot. We have a destination in mind, which is today, and we're going to start back a little ways. When was the first time that you recall meeting one of us?
The first time I really was when everybody came over to the house to move Helen out after I'd just gotten out of jail for the charges of, I pushed her down in the chair. I assaulted her.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who was there? Do you remember?
Not really. I was, at that point in time, I was still drinking, so I was pretty drunk. I remember you guys showing up to take her stuff. But not really who was there.
Huh. Okay. Good.
Were you there, Tyler?
Yeah, I was. And it's fun to be sitting next to you, side by side as brothers. That was 4 years ago.
4 years ago, yeah.
And that wasn't the first time. That was probably the first time we met face to face. I think you and I had known of each other before that.
Yeah, through my wife, I had known of the Journey houses, and you and your wife especially, yes.
Yeah. And I as I thought about sitting down with you, thought this, it's a journey homes, and a lot of the times we talk about this being an individual journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where are you going? Are you making forward progress? But I think kind of the beautiful part of this conversation is gonna be the journey that we all had together to get here. So yeah.
when I think back about the beginning of this, I was so distorted in my thinking and angry at everybody. I had no room in my life for anybody, but I didn't believe in anything except for another drink and hopefully my next paycheck at the time, I guess.
Well, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. So, Tyler, what were your first impressions of Joe?
Well, I feel like my first impressions were of probably, wanting to, I don't know how to say it. You just like not about Joe. It wasn't about Joe. It was kind of about other people in his life and keeping them safe and stuff like that. And I honestly, I didn't think much. And I think back on that and I realize, same in like foster care and other stuff, you get focused on maybe the kid who needs help, but there's a whole community around people, right? So you talked about Helen moving out.
Right.
My fixation was mostly on her, but the reality was God had much more in store than just Helen finding a place to stay for a little while.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
my first impressions, I'd like to think were, man, someday God's going to turn Joe's life around and we're going to be best buds and sitting and doing a podcast. But it wasn't that. So Billy, it was probably not positive, right? I probably didn't think much about what had brought Joe to the place where he was in his life, where, that was where he was struggling. Probably judgmental. Probably. And it sucks.
That's two-sided though, because everything that reality to me was growing up in an alcoholic family, those kind of things, a different reality than your reality. So my expectations of things were different. When I saw you, to me, you were the enemy, kind of, because you were walking into my life, just messing up what I thought was right, which was completely upside down, but that's where I came from. But in going through this, as long as I have, being around you guys, I've opened up enough to realize that, just because you're taught something doesn't always mean it's right.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I've come into the conclusion with you men around me, I've made a lot better decisions with my life, listening rather than trying to control it myself, which I believe is God working through you guys.
Well, I'd throw something into this conversation. I wasn't at the house. I obviously didn't have the same experience that Tyler did, but I remember having conversations on Friday mornings. I specifically remember talking about, and I didn't know it was you, but I remember talking about what ended up being Joe and the struggles that were going on there and the things that were happening and what we could do for you that we didn't know. And so it was, at that time, it was prayer. It was just, hey, this guy's going to he needs some help. What can we do to help him make better decisions? But at that time, I specifically remember just praying for who you ended up to be, because I had no idea who you were. I'd never met you or anything else, but I think there's something to be said about the fact that you might be involved, I might be involved, but we all have something to rally around, because we all have that single purpose that we know this guy needs prayed for, or we know that he needs supported, and whichever way we can all support it is what we hope to, just help build people up.
Yeah.
So you do have a recollection of your first impression of Tyler besides him being a jerk to you or anything of that nature? Anything that you want to say about Tyler, and now is the exact time to say it.
Let's do this.
You're not gonna like it, Billy, because I've always liked the guy. Always treated me honestly.
Nice
so.
try.
Okay, we'll try again. So at some point, you came to live in the Journey Homes. Tyler, in 23 seconds or less, explain what the Journey Homes were at that moment.
So at the Journey Homes, at that point, there was a men's and women's home, and it's an intentional living environment for people who say, hey, you know what? I want to do more with my life and doing better moving forward in my journey. I need to be around healthy other people who are kind of making those same decisions. And so the homes are just kind of self-run. People hold each other accountable. People take care of the expenses and the chores together. A lot of people are there coming, out of addiction, just difficult circumstances, and know, hey, it's easier to do it together than it is alone.
Okay,
Is that right?
So your wife got ripped away from you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There had to come a place where you had to make a decision. You're either going to go towards her or away from her. Tell us about that period in between that point.
All right. January 7th, I was living in a motel and been drinking quite a bit. January 7th, I guess, was 3 years ago. Was suicidal. Decided to walk down to the liquor store, get another drink. Only got about halfway there, and Helen and Jen showed up. Excuse me. I was soon arrested that night. That became my first shock of reality of the DTs that I had to go through. The pain that I went through for 150 days waiting in jail to go in front of the judge. But that time was very well used. God came into my life at that time. Told me I was going to live at the mansion and things were going to get better. Pretty simply that. And with a lot of prayer. Dave got in contact. I got in contact with Dave. And Dave finally got back in contact with me. And the second day that I got out of jail, I moved into the mansion. So,
Yeah.
there you go.
I remember when Helen and Jen were out looking for you, and the concern that she had. So it's just interesting to see the love, and none of this is. It's pretty. I can look back at the timeline and it's like, there's a direct path here, but it wasn't.
No.
I mean, like you said, you're in a motel, and it was like it was not looking pretty.
No.
Your thoughts and stuff, and getting into jail, and then you were there for a while, and
Yeah. Well, like I said, that night walking down to the liquor store, I'd truly planned on walking out in front of a semi that I'd seen. So it was, I'd never been that low before.
yeah, it must have been pretty horrible low. And it even coming into the Journey Home, here's another reason for you to not like me, because I didn't think you were supposed to be in the home. Everybody else is like, Helen's in the women's home, Joe should be in the men's home, and I'm like, no.
I've thought about a couple of things since a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Billy was right. There's some things you don't like about him. I honestly thought, Joe needs more structure or whatever, and that's me thinking I know best, right? And I respected the fact that the other guys in the home knew what they knew.
Right.
And you moved in.
Yep.
And what was it like moving into an intentional living environment?
Well, to be real honest, at first I wasn't real hip on the idea. As a matter of fact, I was still kind of playing games under the cover, I guess. I had a place to live, and I was grateful, and I was learning a little bit about God, but a lot of me underneath was still kind of just sliding along. I didn't particularly care I couldn't control things. There were kids around. Things were moved, those kind of things. It was very unusual for me. And in the process of, I started working on the Ash Street house, and ended up falling on my face and getting drunk there. That was when I believe it was Jen and your wife, Lydia, came and confronted me in the mansion. And yeah, that was another big turning point because I left the mansion, was told to leave the mansion. I don't know if I was told to or not because I was kind of drunk. I think I was trying to escape the condemnation that I was feeling. So I went to a motel and I stayed there for about 5 or 6 hours and drank and drank and drank, and finally looked at the bottle and decided I couldn't get drunk anymore and I couldn't do it. And to be real honest, I was afraid. So I did something I'd never done. I turned around and I backtracked and I went back to the mansion and snuck in the back door and back up to my room and hid there for about 2 days. I don't know if anybody knew I was there for sure or not, but I was trying to recuperate. And we had some long conversations after that, but my life straightened up a lot. It was not my last drink, but close to it. It definitely led to my last drinking. So the exception that I felt that I'd never felt before was the people around me accepted the fact that I'd screwed up and fell on my face and that I drank again and didn't want me to leave. They wanted me to stay. Normally in my past before that, that was a cutting point. Either you had to go or I had to go because there was something that changed, you know. You guys, the Journey family, helped me grow with them and realize that that's part of it. You know, I'd heard that before as part of it falling down, but you guys helped me get back up again and again. Getting pretty good at it now, getting pretty steady on my feet, but still got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
There's probably a jerk out there named Aaron that you have to thank for quite a bit of this.
I love Aaron.
Been with you on this journey as a housemate.
Yeah.
Among others, but
yeah. Well, him, Jake, Dave, Jason, all of them. But Aaron probably absolutely more than any. But he's also the one I was mad at the most to start with. Truly, he was one I felt was truly taking my wife away from me. Him and Tyler. Those were the two I blamed for that deal. Yeah, exactly. Messing up with my chi, although my chi was getting drunk and pushing my wife around evidently. Not a good place, not a good person.
But at some point in time, I mean, you had other people around you, and there was an environment that was conducive to do better. But at some point, you made the choice that, hey, I'm not going to stay here, or, you know, I'm not going to stay in this place that I'm at. So what prompted you to say this isn't good enough? You know, what prompted you to say I'm not going to give up? I'm gonna work at this.
Yeah, take us to the moment you're at the hotel. You've left the mansion. This is the no, you weren't arrested. Nobody came and found you. Nobody drug you anywhere.
But you came back.
Well, that was one of them aha moments. Literally, when you're an alcoholic like I was, when you can pick up a bottle and look at it and it's still half full, and you can put it down and walk away from it. I was at that point really just done. Felt like I couldn't. I don't know. I felt sanctuary at the house, although I felt judged by myself probably more than anybody. I knew that if I didn't go back there, I was going to die. I was going to choose death. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine there's, like Tom's is saying, like you had to make that choice. And I'd like to think that the way that Aaron, Dave, Jake, the men in the house, those in leadership, hopefully express some sort of love that made you feel like it might be a little different if I come back versus like did you think we might be accepting and forgiving, or were you like, nope, I'm going to get...
No, I thought that there was a possibility, or else I wouldn't come back. I wouldn't have tried to extend myself like that, I guess. But, you know, in all reality, I was in such a drunken state. That's not true, because I remember looking at the bottle. I remember putting it down. I remember walking to the house. I remember feeling comfortable, and I remember hiding. That was from myself mainly, but I didn't want to have to judge. I didn't want to have to see you guys. I wasn't ready yet. I had to come down from where I was anyway. Lydia and Jen were, when they come in and just treated me like they did, with compassion.
Like a human.
Yeah, somebody that just messed up, not somebody that was a dog, you know.
Yeah.
That was a big turning point. I realized there was a lot of unconditional love there that I hadn't seen.
Sure. I feel like that's a seminal moment in your life, you know, turning point. But I think I haven't used your name, but other people who have fallen that have lived in the home, I've used that has been an example for me of the bad decision is not to drink. Well, that's a bad one. The
Right.
worst is what you do after that.
Absolutely.
If you come back, if you ask for freedoms, if you seek back that community and that strength, and you did that.
Well, alcohol and addiction is really stupid anyway, with your false prides that it brings out and beliefs in yourself that are so unrealistic. Yeah, it's a horrible road to travel down. Wouldn't wish it on any person, but it's not just the alcoholic journey that I went through in my life. It was being born and raised in the Catholic community and learning a different type of God that I know now. What I've changed, what's changed around me, what's changed in me in the last 3 years has been everything. I still hold on to some of my humanness. Needless to say, it's just one of those things. I try to be better at not trying to control things. I try to be better at listening and not getting angry, mad, quick. Several things, but the person I am today, I know that I'm with God. I know that I'm walking with brothers that are trying to do the same thing. The company we're attempting to work on getting started is all backed in that idea of helping one another.
Mm-hmm.
Not selfishness, which is what I feel like I was all my life.
Well, it's cool for me to sit at this table because I've never known you any other different, Joe. So I mean, I heard about you, but I didn't know you, and so from my point of view, all I see is from now and what your potential is and what you can accomplish and what you can do. I didn't know you before, so all this story and this decision and it's interesting to me because I've never heard it. I just know Joe that's sitting here now and what you can accomplish and what you can do. And it's so encouraging to me to see the strength that it took for you to get to this point. I'm like, if you apply that strength now, what you can do, but what there's no limit.
Unlimited. So from coming back to the house, hiding in the room, I'm going to go with a presumption here.
Okay.
That from that point on, there might have been some dips in the road, but your life took an upward trajectory.
Absolutely.
And what do you attribute that upward trajectory to? Trajectory.
Projectile
Trajectory.
heading upwards.
Yeah, what you said. Honestly, a lot of long conversations on the front porch of the mansion was probably the biggest part of it. I learned some theological things that I'd never thought of before, some depths of things that I'd never even imagined I'd be talking to people about, and I had some people that were able to answer some questions that I had in my spiritual life, which made huge differences in who I've become today, realizing that I was bought and paid for, realizing that I've got a place there no matter what I do, as long as I believe those three things. I know that I'm put here for a reason, and that's to be another not just follower of God, but a leader of men. I feel completely different than what I did spiritually 10 years ago. I was bankrupt. That's just the truth. I was just completely bankrupt, and I found a God that loves me back, and I can be honest with, and some people that I can be honest with.
So what I heard you say is God, community, and brotherhood.
That's absolutely correct.
Is
and my
what-
wife. Although I've been very angry at her several times.
Ellen!
Okay, well,
So
yes.
you guys were married.
We'll throw her in there.
When we first met, you weren't married.
Right.
But you got married, and you were married when you moved in to the home.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm guessing your next question is, what did it look like to get from you guys were both living in the men's home and the women's home
Right.
to where you are now? At least, yeah.
Is that,
He's the boss.
I approve this question.
Thank you.
I approve this question.
there was times, to be real honest, I was confused. I know that we were both supposed to be working on ourselves, but it kind of, I don't know, women have a tendency to congregate with women, men have a tendency to congregate with men, and I think it's real good that we have a community to where all of us are mixed together. I was worried that she was probably because I wasn't being a very good human, I was probably going to get told on that I wasn't a very good human and she probably deserved more, and I probably wasn't going to live up to that. But the guys around me kept me pretty grounded, very grounded, especially Jake. He kept me grounded on a lot of levels. and kept me just believing that if I just kept doing the right thing, consistency, that was the things that have made more difference in my life than anything. Show up on time, do the job that's in front of you, be honest about it, love your brother. Those are the things I was taught there. And grace. I mean, Dave and those guys had grace on me several times at the house that they didn't have to.
So can I give you more reason to not like me?
Well, wait a second. Before we do that, one of the ones that you mentioned there was show up on time.
Oh, is this a timely question or that I'm normally late?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead now with your question.
So I already confessed that I thought maybe moving into the home wasn't a good idea.
Right.
So I didn't think you should move in the home. And I may or may not have counseled Helen or tried to help her not get married to you.
I know.
What a jerk!
But hey,
I'm just
this
gonna
is
step
where
out
this
now.
is where I this is, hold on.
Do I need to be between you two guys?
No,
Wait,
probably wouldn't be a bad
Uno
idea.
momento. Once you moved into the home, was everybody supportive of you? I mean, largely supportive of you and encourage you and want you to be there and be healthy?
Everybody but you. No.
I'm done. Finally.
And whether you like it or not, once you got married, I would like to think that the community came around, myself included, trying to redeem myself. They're like, okay, you made this commitment. Now you've got people on your team who are going to cheerlead and try to help you keep going, even during the difficult times, and then at some point move in together.
If it wasn't for the Journey House and the Revolution Church, to be honest, I wouldn't be married to my wife right now. I would have taken the easy way out a long time ago, and she probably would have also. But I think we both realized that the day, no matter what the case was, the day that we went in front of God and decided we were going to be together, we meant that. And it was worth fighting for, and worth getting out of our selfish selves and try to be a team. It's just, and that's really just now starting to happen. We're starting to be a team, so.
Yeah.
Still a long ways in the coming, but it's definitely a lot better than it's been. So, very happy.
Okay, so I'm wanting to make a smooth transition right here.
Okay.
At some point, some crazy person came to you with the prospect of employment outside of your stable job, working for a super dude. I really like the guy that you were working for.
Good man.
At some point, somebody came to you and said, hey, we want to start this company and we want you to quit your nice, consistent job and take a chance on us. How did that come about?
Just like everything else with a short conversation, I think, and a dream, I didn't realize that you guys were working on this idea. To be real honest, all I seemed to do, my part of it was exactly that. I showed up, I worked at the same job, I showed consistency, I showed love for my brother in the house. I really don't know where it came about that I was the person to be approached about it. I think it was kind of a common mutual thing, but at the same time, I suppose that I had to be approached at some point in time. And it scared me at first, and still does scare me, to be honest. What I'm looking at right now is a little bit of indecision, not what I'm doing, but just that we're going to be able to keep things going and me keep myself out of the way enough to not throw a wrench in it. You know what I mean? I know you guys have got my back, and that is all the difference in the entire world. That's the main reason that I was able to walk away from Taunton like I did. Excuse me if I shouldn't have said the name. I have belief that you guys would not steer me wrong. I know that I've prayed about this 100 times, and I've prayed with you guys about it several times. And I think what we have is something that's for God. It's for the good of all of us. So I just don't see how it can go wrong. I mean, there's many things out there today that can cause financial problems and turn the economy upside down. But I think as long as we're doing what we're doing for the right reasons, that I believe we are, I couldn't help but think that this is something I wanted to be involved with, and maybe I can help somebody else learn a trade that I have, or maybe be kind to somebody along the road that makes a difference. I knew I was going nowhere besides where I was.
You talk about that trust, and how you're still a little bit nervous about it. I'm sitting on the other side saying, well, I've got to trust you,
Absolutely.
and knowing now more of the details, and we knew some before, but about where you've come from.
Right.
And if I'm being completely honest, it was, hey, is Joe dependable? Is Joe the type of guy that we can trust to say, hey, we need this job done and know it's going to be right? And taking the time to get to know you and seeing the way this has gone up to this point, I don't think there's any question about that. But I think you look at it from, okay, you need to trust us, and we've got to trust you every bit as much, because we've all got skin in the game on this thing.
Absolutely.
But it's all built on that trust, and I think it's been interesting to see. It's been 3 or 4 months now. I mean, it's working. I mean, now, and I think from where we started, we didn't really know where we'd be in November of this year, but we're seeing that happen. I mean, we had some developments this week on more work and things that are coming about. Let's be honest, guys, we're not smart enough to do this. We're not smart enough to see all this and anticipate all this, and this is happening because we've stepped out a little bit. We've stepped out in some faith, and these things are starting to come back to us. I mean, that's my opinion. This isn't anything that we could have sat down and probably architected for the last 4 months. This thing is starting to gain momentum and starting to be successful because of the purpose.
I just want to make a point. Architected, is that really a word?
It is.
It's a verb,
It
maybe.
It is.
Is it really a word?
I don't know.
That's really
But
nice
it-
you say that, Tom, because that's exactly how I feel about my personal life. It's changed just like that. It's I think it comes down to what your thoughts are behind it, what you're putting into your, starts with an I. What's the name of that word?
Intention?
No.
Your what? Sorry.
Integrity. If you've got
Yeah.
integrity in what you're doing, truly in what we're doing, and I believe that these 4 men right here, including myself, I think we've got that, and I think we're working in the right direction and letting God do the work and us just try to take the steps involved.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough for a lot of us because a lot of us guys have too much testosterone here and we're trying to control things, but stepping back and letting things happen instead of making them happen, I think is the way it's going to happen the way it's supposed to.
Yep.
And that's a tough one for me to do, and I'm quite certain it is for you guys.
And I think one of the greatest gifts that we've each been able to give to this process, and it's one of the hardest ones, and I think you've mentioned it several times, is realizing what our weaknesses are and realizing where my brother's strengths play in on that, because knowing what my role is
Mm-hmm.
and what my role is not.
Right?
And when I try to do what my role is not, I fail miserably.
Which circles clear back to the original conversation about when you were in the hotel, when you were making those decisions, there were people with gifts that came and could feed that directly into you. And there was I couldn't have done that.
Nope.
Certainly Bill couldn't have done that. But there were people at that time that were a part of that community that had what you needed. And you see some of that in what we're doing now. We are all getting better about staying in our lane and saying, I have things I can bring, and at the appropriate time, I'll offer them. And I'm seeing us figure this out.
That's exactly it, figuring it out.
But you see it start to work, and that's really encouraging to me to see that happen.
It's about the journey and not the destination.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're on. And man, I'm grateful to be on the journey with you all. You look like you want to say something, Tyler.
Well, we just haven't told people what was architected and stuff. I feel like
That's
that
okay.
might be-
Tyler, tell us about what we're talking about.
We're talking about JourneyWorks. I don't know if you got any of the swag on right now,
yeah,
but
well,
JourneyWorks is what Joe is kind of doing day in, day out. We're bringing an intentional employment place. So that idea we have with the Journey Homes of, hey, it's easier to do life when you're living in healthy community. It's also good. It's easier to do good work when you're working with people who have similar values.
like-minded people, absolutely.
And understand our past, forgive it, but being sympathetic to it, or so we have created a light construction, painting, drywall crew, singular but growing, as a place where other people who want to move forward in their journey can come work together in a positive work environment.
Looking forward to that very much.
Whether that's not just like job skills training, but just making it be an encouraging place to work.
And it's investing in people, not investing in profit.
Absolutely.
Correct. And so Joe took a risk and stepped out and is launching into that. And I will say, I bet against Joe at the beginning about the home, maybe about the marriage, but I did not bet against Joe this time. 2 strikes is enough. I think that's something through the whole story, is learning to see people more than their problems or their mistakes, but their potential. And it's a lesson I'm still learning, and I'm glad that God was gracious to us to not just leave it where it started, but to usher us along into deeper friendship, brotherhood.
I've thought about where I would be without the Journey House and the Journey families, and where, and I can't see anything good. It was definitely God that timed it. I wasn't ready for it beforehand. I wasn't ready for the Journey House to start with. The grace and love of you guys and God is the only thing that made that happen.
Sure.
But I knew about it before
I would add, where would Journey House and Journey Works be without you?
Yeah. No, that's a great point, Thomas.
God bless you. Thank you.
This is how it goes. It's mutual. I know my family has been very much enriched by you being Uncle Joe. Very grateful for it. So if you were able to give advice, people who are listening who have a family member, loved one, friend going through some of the struggles you went through, what are some of the things that were helpful, and what some of the things that kind of were not helpful?
Oh, wow. The most helpful, the biggest thing that's happened to me in the last 3 years is just learning more about Christ, to be honest. I got lucky enough I think God put the people in my life that made that happen with Aaron and Dave and Jake and the gentleman there at the mansion. Learning that, to me, was by far the biggest help I've ever had in anything. There really is no downside to community. I mean, except where you have to stand up and be honest about who you are and what you believe in. So I don't really see a downside to it. You have to learn how to be humble, which is very difficult for a lot of us. And even mentioning the word humble makes you really not humble. So I don't know how to go with that. It's, I think, too deeply into it, I guess. Consistency, guys. No matter what, keep going. The devil's going to try to throw crap at you. I guarantee it. The world is going to throw things at you that look shiny and prosperous. But for me, the one thing that's going now that I truly believe is I've got a direct journey, and it's towards heaven. I know there's going to be a lot of things that are going to make me stumble in between here and there, but I've got brothers around me to help me, and I've learned myself that I'm worth that. So
Amen.
It's going to be tough to remember that sometimes, but yeah.
Sure. It's good.
Did you have any other pre-planned questions?
Not about Disney princess, not your favorite Disney princess.
That's good.
I feel like you've been. I appreciate your candidness and just being willing to share raw. Yeah, there's been emotion along the way, and I think never giving up. You know, that never quit. It seemed like people could have quit on you. You could have quit on us.
Absolutely.
You could have because. Like you said, when you first moved in the homes, it wasn't easy. I mean, there's a lot of adjustment to living with other people and the accountability and just the quirks, and you didn't quit. And so it's a good testament to the outcomes.
It's a good testament to what power can be had if I stay out of the way in my life and try to listen to some people. I truly believe this wisdom in many. I believe it says it on the paper. There's more wisdom in more people than there is in a single person. And I believed in myself for so long as being the ultimate authority that was just all I did was running amok. So when I finally decided to open up and believe in God a little bit and believe in some others and try to believe in them and do those things, my life has been enriched greatly. And it's taken a lot of pressure off my shoulders because I never was that smart. I just thought I was.
Sure.
All right. Any closing thoughts, Thomas?
It's just been fun to hear kind of where it started, but like I said, I'm just more excited about where we're going. So I appreciate you taking some chances on us.
Thank you.
What you've done for this community, but thanks for sharing that with everybody. I think it's a story that needs to be told, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Sorry about the waterworks. I get emotional. person I used to not be. I used to try to hide this, but you know what? It's okay. It's okay to be
Like I've told you, you have that heart condition. When your heart swells, it puts pressure on your tear ducts, and I love it.
Yeah.
Tyler, closing thoughts.
Man, I think this is too short of a time to be able to tell the story and the ins and outs, but I feel like we've done a good job of being honest with it, that it was not easy, and at any point we could have written each other off.
Absolutely.
And I think you probably wanted to, and I wanted to.
Probably so.
That would have been the easy.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Sure.
honestly, if I followed my feelings, it would have led me towards just, self-righteousness that I'm protecting his wife and he's the bad guy. But that wasn't the story. That wasn't true.
Right.
You were a beautiful, son of God who has insurpassable worth. And if we lean into that, this is where we get. If we think of people as their lowest point, we miss out on so much.
Absolutely.
And so I want to commit to doing that in the future. Is when the easy answer is to put somebody down in my mind,
Right.
and hold something against them, to hold it up against what God says about them, and yeah.
I'll be the first to tell you I believed in black and white for so long, but I've so much realized that it's changed. There's so many people's lives that are different. There is no one cookie cutter deal to this. The only absolute that I can find in life is God. So the rest of it we kind of have to build on and go on our best instincts and hopefully surround ourselves with some good people. You guys, thank you so much for networking with me, helping me become part of this. I didn't still have a hard time believing I deserve this. You guys believed in me, and thank you. You're my brothers. Thank you.
Amen.
Man, we started this thing with community, brotherhood, and manning up, and there's another component in there that Tyler just points out so eloquently about compassion and being non-judgmental, and it's just you've been such a gift to us. As a brother, as a fellow Steelers fan, the only sane person that I truly know, just been such a gift to us, and everybody just brings something else into the community, something else to the table. I feel selfish because it just helps me to be a little bit better every day. So you're an inspiration to me, Joe. You really are.
For sure.
Yes.
You really are. Well, closing up here, we've got a couple people to thank for this podcast. Number one is who bought us lunch today?
Ooh.
Journey Works.
Yeah.
Journey Works bought us.
They're our premier sponsor.
They're our premier sponsor. They're our premier
Platinum
sponsor.
You too can get in at the
Yes,
sponsor levels.
yes, we're taking. We are bribable in the form of food.
We take sandwiches.
Apparently, we have McAllister's and Pepsi products when we record podcasts in Copenhagen. Copenhagen, if you want to sponsor us, come on. But Journey Works, we have some social media presence. We'll talk about that. We're not really advertising, which is amazing that we've had this business going with zero advertising. I just find that pretty amazing. One of the friends that's been along with us on the way is Primal Jerky.
Oh yeah.
Now we're at an official bag count of 131. I got two more just so that what are we doing in a couple of days? It might be the day this episode airs.
Yeah, we could listen to it while we're in the blind.
We're gonna
or the stand.
You're gonna go in a stand?
You guys can push them to me.
I'm pushing to you. Okay.
Deer hunting.
We're gonna go out deer hunting, and that's gonna be an amazing time. Primal Jerky was started about 3 years ago by a couple of guys that live down by Hutchinson. It's Kansas made, 100% real Kansas beef. It's the best beef jerky in the world. I think we determined last time that if you eat their beef jerky, you're guaranteed to be a top 25 arm wrestler.
That's what I hear, yeah.
That's what I hear. They have a new product coming out. Beef sticks.
Okay.
I can neither confirm nor deny that I was on the phone with one of the owners of Primal Jerky today, and he is going to send the Humble Pursuit podcast some beef sticks for us to try on air and give a honest opinion out. They're not in the retail stores yet, which they're at over 350 stores now in Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Or for the real peoples, Arkansas. Over 350 stores. But the beef sticks are available online only. You can check out their Facebook page, which is at Primal Jerky, or their website, www.feedonprimal. JourneyWorks, we have a website. What is that website?
Journey-works.com.
And we own the dash.
All right.
It's all
Yeah,
about the
own the
dash. We need to advertise on that, the dash portion
Yes.
of that. Yes. And then we also have a Facebook page. It's probably at JourneyWorks. I'm not 100%
That sounds
sure.
right.
That sounds about right. The Humble Pursuit Podcast, we have some internet presence. We have a Facebook page at the Humble Pursuit Podcast, a YouTube page. If you're watching this, you found the YouTube page. If not, just look up the Humble Pursuit. And a Twitter page at Humble Pursuit. In closing, I just want to remind everybody out there, never settle, never give up, live life with urgency to the fullest and in abundance.
It's good stuff, Billy.
Face your legacy every day, and remember the only day guaranteed is yesterday. For Tyler, Thomas, my brother Joe, and myself, God bless. We're out.
Boom.